This presentation will be a basic presentation based on my experiences. From the last 13 years, I have been working in the Government of India as an Indian Forest Service officer. So my experiences in the forestry as well as working with the drones when I was working as the Deputy Director in the Forest Survey of India. So I am just starting the presentation. Hope everyone can see my slides.
Yes, it's good.
Yes, so this is a basic presentation of how the drones are used in forestry and somewhere how it can be used also in the forestry. So to start with, so this is the overall forest picture, forest we have in the throughout the world. This is as per the GFI, that is the Global Forest Resource Assessment, which the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, they publish once in 5 years. So this is the report of 2020. So we have around 4.06 billion hectares of forest, so which accounts to around 31 percentage of the total land area. So again, it's dominated. It means dominated by the tropical forests, especially near the equator, in the Amazon, Congo Basin, as well as the Indo-Malayan and Borneo regions, as well as the boreal forest, especially in the USA, Alaska, and in the Russian Federation. So this is the growing stock. See, this growing stock is very important because there was a question from somebody that how drones will be used for climate change. Because from the growing stock only, we'll be estimating the carbon. What is the carbon stock of the every forest? So again, you can see over here. So again, the same countries, the Brazil, Congo, they all have more growing stock per unit area when compared to other areas. So this slide is very, very important. Actually, the GFR, it means the FAO, they come out with this estimate how many primary forests we have. See, primary forests are the native forests, the forests which have been evolved through the interaction with the environment for millions of years. So as of now, they estimated around that we have around 1.1. And in the second para, you can see that we have lost around 81 million hectares since 1990 because the major reasons are due to this. One is the deforestation, encroachments because of the continuous increasing in the population. There were more pressure on the forest lands leading to encroachments, illegal felling. So again, for some cultivation, maybe again for any use of the land for their establishments. A lot of developmental projects, especially the road projects, dams, they all came up in the pristine forest areas. Plantations, when we talk about the plantations, especially the red oil palm plantations, cassava plantations, and again rubber plantations in the Indo-Malayan Borneo regions, all have come up in the very good forest areas. And the final one is the shifting cultivation. So maybe many people would have been knowing about the shifting cultivation, very primary and unproductive form of cultivation, which is followed especially in the tropical countries. This has also led to the destruction of primary forests. So when we lose this primary forest, ultimately not only we lose the forest, the associated organisms also, all the animals, whatever they have been associated, we are also slowly and losing it. And these primary forests, once we lose, then again it's very difficult to bring back the same composition of the forest again. And the secondary forest which comes with doesn't have that kind of good biodiversity what it had in the primary forests. So coming to India, so because I am an Indian Forest Service officer, so this is just I had to little bit focus upon India because what we do is I'm mostly focused. Does the forest cover assessment. We also do the resource assessment once in 2 years. So this is how our forests are distributed. We generally classify our forest into four different types based on the density, very dense forest. These are all available in our Forest Survey of India website that you can go through it. Coming to that is the cover, and we have very different, very high diversity of types of forest also. We have forest starting from the desert areas in the Thar to the luxuriant, very good rainforest, especially in the Andaman Nicobar and Northeast regions. And we have this has been classified by two foresters in the way back in 1936 and again in 1968. So that whom we call them as Champion and Seth. Champion is a British German forester, sorry, and Seth is an Indian forester. So they classified our entire forest into six groups and 16 subtypes, and again 221 types. So it's very difficult to bring 221 types in a single map. That is why only 16 has been brought in. So this much of wide variability India has. So coming to the topic, why we need drones to the, especially to the forestry and wildlife. So first thing is we get the current information. So we don't need to rely on any satellite data, which might have been taken very long back. And the procurement means the time taken to procure the data means time taken to obtain the data is very fast. If you want to know about a particular landscape, just fly over that area, get the data. And comes to the accuracy, if you use some what we call the PPK RTK drones, so the accuracy is much good as the DGPS. And again the flexibility. So it's not that today you have to fly, so you can fly over at any time, at any moment of point, and you can get the data, and very diverse data. So only one flight is enough, and from one flight images or videos we can obtain many products out of that. So these are the main reasons why we want drones can rule the forestry and wildlife. So how we are using it, the primary thing is we are using on the mapping. So what that's simply called as the resource assessment, what we do normally. And second thing is the boundary demarcation. So this is very important because always there is a tussle between the private government as well as the forest. So whose boundary is where, and it goes to the most of the time it goes to the court, and where it has to be decided, and again it will be decided that some kind of digitization needs to be done, and in that place the drones will play an important role, so that the work can be done very faster. So species differentiation. Now, generally, our forests, Indian forests, except the Himalayas, when you go to the southern India, especially in the Western Ghats, and again in the Andaman Nicobar and the northeastern states, so you have very good tropical forests. They have a lot of species. So it's very difficult to identify the species based on the data what we get from the satellites. So maybe because of the resolution, or maybe because of the less bands. So in that case, drones, which may be fitted with the multispectral or the hyperspectral sensors, they play a role in identifying that. And surveillance, this is very very important. As a forest officer, we have to keep our forest throughout the day in our eyes. We have to protect them, conserve them. Nothing goes out of it. Same with respect to the protection census. This is very important because when it comes to the wildlife, so on a scheduled time we have to calculate what we have, and what is our carrying capacity. We have to also find it out. For that, now intermittently we have to go for the census. Very important. Somebody has asked in the question answers also that human animal conflict. Drones can play a very important role that I'll discuss in the coming slides. Forest fire management. This is one of the very very important thing. Fires, you may be knowing, they can whatever the forests which have grown for millions of years, they can be finished within days. The entire forest can go into ashes. So that is why there it plays a very important role. And mensuration is a branch of forestry which deals with the how the measurements, like calculation of volume, calculation of height. So there also drones can play a very important role. And all these lead to a better forest and wildlife management. So let me go one by one. So because this time is very less, so I have also only put very few slides only. So very slowly I'll try to explain to you. So the resource assessment, as already I told you, globally the GFRA, Global Forest Resource Assessment, is done once in 5 years by the FAO, and in India we do it once in 2 years. As the India State of Forest Report, since 1986 we are doing it, and 21 such reports we have released. And further going down the state, every district district is the one of the unit which has the control over the entire forest. So we have district forest officers or division forest officers will be there on that in that place. So we generally go for once in 10 years we'll be preparing the working plans and management plans. So for that also we need to assess what resource we have in the particular area. So generally, when we map, we go for low resolution satellite images only. As of now, still now we are doing is what we have the list three, which is our indigenous image of India, and again Landsat. Maybe much people will be familiar with this also. So these are the two things which we normally use for the any kind of digitization or any kind of mapping. Now again coming to high resolution images. See, if you want to go for high resolution images, again, nowadays there are procurement process is a lengthy process. In India, again, we have to procure through NRC. So it takes a long time to procure that. And the cost involved also, it's quite large, high. And the inherent problems like the cloud cover, if we need in a particular month, and if the cloud cover is more, then that image cannot be much utilized. Again, there is a spelling mistake. Lots of distortions will be there sometimes in the images. So these all lead to non-usage of non-familiarization of high resolution satellite images in the field of resource assessment. In this place, drone can play a very important role. You can see this image. This was prepared when I was undergoing a training in ICFRE Space Application Center in Shillong, where I was first. Sorry, the video is it's working. So where I first got trained into the means we use the drone images in making this 3D video using the Pix 4D software. So generally, simply we did it just to have an idea how the 3D images can be made, and after that it can run through it. So our team, having of 20 people, we have done this through. So this is one of the most important thing when as a forester we comes to know, because we should know what our forest has. Then only we can write our management plan, what how we want to manage and what we are going to manage. So I'm stopping because of the time. So let's get to the next one. So forest types. So this is a classical example. This picture is from my nearby district of Tamil Nadu. So long time we were not knowing this forest type exists in that place. Surprisingly, one day a drone was flown and this picture was taken. Though we have read in the books of Champion and Chid in 1936 that this forest type, this is called as a shola, we call in Tamil Nadu, shola forest. Otherwise, technically speaking, and as a forester, we call it as the southern submountain tropical wet temperate forest, we call it as. So when he flew the drone, he found that a small patch of this still exists. So we could identify that, we could further confirm it that still the forest type exists. And selection of sites. As a forester, we normally do plantations a lot. So because of the crunch in the man, lot of we have to protect also, we have to conserve also, we have to patrol, and we have to do the plantation. We have to improve the forest stock as well as the whatever has gone degraded, we have to improve it. So generally what happens when we ask our foresters go and find out some land, but there will be always a problem that they'll come out with land availability is very less. The thing is he has to go through the entire area and come back with the accurate area measurement. See, this much area is available, then we have to go for the plantation. So it's practically very difficult for the person who is in the field to go to the entire area. In such cases, we have found that drone images will be very, very highly useful. As like a survey, Reiki survey or a preliminary survey, we'll come to know where the land is available. After that, we'll send our team to go for better measurements, and then we will go for the particular plantations. So drones on planting seedlings, though much have not been done. Recently, I am hearing from some Middle East countries and somewhere in Indonesia or Bali, they are going to do planting of mangrove seedlings with mangroves. So no other things in India we have not come up. But if it is done, it will be very good, especially for the fragile ecosystems. An ecosystem which will be difficult to reach in such, I mean, certain places will be there. It's tough to reach the particular forest or the particular ecosystem and do the plantation activities. In such places, if drones can be empowered or monitoring the plantation. So once you have planted, so this is called as this is a picture from Andhra Pradesh. It's one of the state in India. So they have gone for the planting the afforestation of mangrove plantations in Andhra Pradesh. So this technique we call it as the fishbone technique. So what happens is once it's like a fish bone. If you see, if you have eaten fish, you'll be knowing that. So we call the central, the middle one as the main canal, and the side ones we call it as the side canals. So exactly it has to be 45-degree in angle. So one thing is we can observe the growth also. If somewhere growth is not visible, then we can go for what we call it as the beating off, or the operation we call it as the again refilling the such places. And other thing is we can check, because as a controlling officer or as a supervising officer, it's very difficult to go and each and every canal and check whether the canal has been made at 45-degree or not. So forest department, this time Andhra Pradesh Forest Department, they have come up with a wonderful thing. They are doing with the images of the drone, checking out and wherever some lacunas are there, they are refilling it. So survey and boundary demarcation. Again, I was mentioning this. In India, because we have forest lands, we have revenue lands controlled by the district collectors, and we have private lands. So always there exists a tussle between the three because of the encroachments, and the people will go to the court, and again the court will direct some agency, government agency, to go for the survey. So in that cases, if a proper digitized map exists, so it will be very good. And now India is going with DGPS, complete digitization of all the forest boundaries using the DGPS. Though the process is a big process, but the drones which were having the RTK or PPK ones, they can be equally, they can give much accurate data, and this entire exercise could be done in a very less amount of time. So this was one, the left side photograph what I was put here. So this we did it in Chandigarh, because Chandigarh is one of the state you may be knowing. It's a union territory in the state of, in the country of India, and it has some legal issues in the boundaries with the adjacent states. So they have come up, they have asked us to do the survey using the drones. So some one preliminary survey we did in Chandigarh. So encroachment. See, like India is a much developing country, and we are the second in population. So it's really a threat to the. As a forester, we feel it is a threat because the entire pressure falls on us. So when it falls, we lose the habitat, we lose the ecosystem. Lot of legal issues comes, and once they encroach, there is a particular formalities we have to do it legally for evicting, and it will take some and when why how here it will be useful is, see what happens is with the minimum force it's difficult to go and check the area whether encroachment is happening daily, because the same person cannot go through one person cannot go through the entire area and find out encroachment is happening or not. But if you do at least once in a week or once in a month a thorough survey using a drone, and if they know the boundaries very well, then this encroachment can be reduced. So, and proper action can be taken at the initial stage itself, we can throw them off. So this again, it's very important thing, because no other satellite images can give a better accuracy. So TOF we call it as the tree outside forest. So generally, what happens, the forest or the plantations or the small trees whichever has been found in the urban areas or the homesteads, they cannot be mapped by the satellite images, and they cannot be counted into the forest cover. So this can be overcome by usage of the drones. And this picture was given by one of my friend who is working in Wildlife Institute of India. He has done some artificial intelligence, especially in the counting of the trees, and this will highly helpful, especially in the when we talk about urban greens, afforestation. So there it will obviously give a proper data for that. And moreover, again, surveyability. We call it as the how many plants which survey after a year of a plantation. We call it as surveyability. That can be also assessed. So this helps in correctly finding out how our operation, how our management plan is going on. And again, you may be also knowing about the city biodiversity assessment, or we call it the Singapore index. So again, lot of parameters can be worked out, because the ecological parameters needs to be worked out. That can be very well worked out using high resolution images of the drones. Here it can be much useful. So monitoring the vehicle. See, India has many very important tree species like sandal in the south, Santalum album. Again, when you just come up, we have the red sanders, Pterocarpus. Seen that movie Pushpa, where how the red sanders has been smuggled. They have been mentioning. Like this, we have teak, Tectonogrande, Sal, Surya Robusta. Again, the Andaman Padak, what is there in the Andaman? So much valuable timbers we have. So always there is a threat that is being the resources are being wrongly or illegally trafficked back into the other countries and other states. Because I worked in the state of Tripura, so adjacent we had the borders of Bangladesh. So every day we face the problem. Daily 8 9 hours in the night we have to patrol in order to stop the complete illegal movement. So most of the time, what happens is we fail to do, because their information system is also very stronger than us. If we move out, somehow they will the illegal guys also they come to know that I am out. So it's very difficult to find out in which way, because as there are many roads very well interconnected, it's difficult to find out how they are moving. So, like we always say that 10 percentage if we can reduce, it's a great achievement. But drones will play a very important role. Especially this picture is also given by one of my friend from Gujarat Forest Department. So you can see that the vehicle is continuously monitored. Same similar way, the Andhra Pradesh Forest Department is now working with the drones, automatically tracking the vehicles which are going, means maybe some through artificial intelligence, which are going little faster or behaving little odd, so that they can control the illegal movement of the red sanders. So again, this is important. This picture is from the India. So what you're seeing is the bamboo being cut, and after that it has been taken into different places. Normally, what happens? Not only bamboo. Sometimes what happens? Timbers in the earlier days, one of the means of transportation is the water also. So in such a condition, there are chances that illegal movements may happen. So it's difficult because though we have water depots also in the forest department, but it's very difficult by the foresters to have an eye on the water, because sometimes the water levels will be more. Sometimes it becomes difficulty also. So in such conditions, we can monitor, especially if we have a drone, we can properly monitor whether it's a legal timber or an illegal. Many times when we go for the rides, the time we reach, the illegal persons will move away from that place. It becomes very difficulty for us to identify the person, because the smugglers or poachers, whoever is involved in the operation, only the experienced hand used to do it repeatedly. So again, this picture is from one of my friend only. See, if you zoom that, we can identify the person. Same with the respect to the vehicle also. Many a times we lose the vehicle, we don't know what vehicle it is, but if we can find out which number the vehicle bears and where it is, so these things will help us in improving the forest protection. So coming to wildlife management, because one question was there, especially how it is being made. So the first thing is the census. Census commonly it can be made. So this picture very specially I put down because this is the Manipur dancing deer. You may be knowing that. It's exclusively found in that, only in that Cable Nam Joe sanctuary. So the unique thing is this animal is very very shy. It's very difficult to do the census or the wildlife population count. So I think the Manipur Forest Department, along with the Wildlife Institute of India, so they did an excellent work. They using the drones. They have done the complete survey, and they have come to bring out the estimated population. So again, this is a man-animal conflict which happened in 2016 in Jim Corbett. So this was again an experience which was shared by one of the drone company to me. So a man-eater which killed almost four people, a tiger which killed the four people. But the forest department could not track. 2 3 days happened. Then a company, I think, I'm forgetting the name of the company, drone company. So sorry, it's Idea Force. I written that down. One of the leading drone manufacturers in India. So they have given their option that they will come up with their drone. They will try to find out the where the man eater or the tiger is. In 2 hours they could detect it. So this is what the picture that he shared that. So they could track it, and the animal was tranquilized and taken back. So one of the very good operation using the drone they did it. So again in Kaziranga National Park, in a few minutes, as you can see, it has been written at 1 a.m. when they flew that using thermal sensors they can detect six rhinos immediately. Again, corridor tracking. So I remember my college days when I was studying my masters and BSc. We roam behind the elephants in order to track their elephant movement and how they are moving. So now nothing is needed. If you have a drone properly, if you fly continuously for a moment over that, you can track the elephant movement. And this is very important. This is one of the very good thing. The Uttarakhand Forest Department, where I sit, where Dehradun is situated. So we have this railway tracks. Not only in Uttarakhand, again in Tamil Nadu also we have the similar problem. So there are continuous elephant deaths were happening because of the trains hitting the elephants, and many times we lose the tuskers. So then the Uttarakhand government, Uttarakhand Forest Department, they came up with a wonderful thing. So whenever the train crosses that particular place, sanctuary, or the place where the elephant movement is there, where the corridor is there, so that time drone task force was set, and they will be flying the drone, and they will be having direct contact with the guard of the train. So guard is a person will be in the last compartment of the train. So they communicate to him. So immediately the train reduces the speed. So by the way, in the last 2 3 years, there has been no accident. So it's one of the good thing using the coordination with the railways as well as using the drones. They have brought down the deaths of the elephants. Again, lot other things, many things. Again, these pictures are from Shashank from Wildlife Institute of India. You can see the tigers there monitoring crocodiles. He has done a very good study on crocodiles using the using drones. He has even categorized the animals and according to whether they are adults, juveniles, subadults, like that. He has categorized, and further other animals too. Biometrics. This is very important. This is my own study when I was having my training, first training in Northeastern Space Applications Center. See, whenever we talk about forest, so we used to give some as the site quality. So site quality is dependent on the height of the trees present in that area. So practically what happens in a very good forest area, it's difficult to find the tip of the tree because of the density as well as the different layers it has. So what happens normally, we foresters end up in wrong calculations, and by wrongly calculating the height, the volume or the biomass, whatever we are going to calculate, will be misinterpreted. So drones now can play a very good role. This we did it for a small area. We brought the using after flying at a high overlapping rate, so we brought out the we made both the DSM and DTM. We subtracted both of that, and after that we categorized the heights. So from that we can classify at least that area what site quality it can land into. Already our foresters, because Indian forestry is age old since 1850s, they have done a lot of research in this, and they have categorized according to the height. So coming last, very important thing is the fire. It's a great disaster also. See, a few examples. I'm saying this is a case. This is a case happened in Tamil Nadu way back in 2017 or 18. I think the fire happened near to my district only. It killed 26 people. In a fraction of maybe half an hour, 1 hour, no action could be taken. People died. And again, this is Zuku Valley in the borders of Myanmar, Nagaland, and Manipur. Here also, because of its remote locality, means if you want to reach that place, you have to 25 kilometers, and you'll be reaching in 4 5 hours. By the time the fire will completely kill the entire ecosystem. It's again a wonderful place. Anybody happen to visit, na, please do the trek. It's a beautiful place. You will enjoy that entire area. Again, these forests are also very unique. If we lose the forest, again, building that native forest again is a very tough task. And again, every January, December, this fire happens regularly in India. You might have heard about the California fires. Every year they kill a lot of areas of forest. So many lives will be lost also. So why drones? One thing is, first thing is, as I already told, it's easy to use. We can use it both for preventive as well as post-fire operations, faster collection and dissemination of data, better use of resources, connectivity to the firefighters. So these are all the things we have when we use the drone. See, better use of resources. This is very important. I'll tell my one of my example when I went for a field visit in Arunachal Pradesh, the Anjav district, the easternmost part of India, the last eastern district of India. So while coming back, I was seeing 3 4 places they are catching fire and they are growing. So we have very few people, 2 3 people only with us, and some villages with us. So I was asking my forester where we'll go first to put out the fire. We cannot take a decision because now we are down and the fire was happening a little higher than us. So we have to go to that place now abruptly, means just by so we can go to this place. Like that we went. Otherwise, if you have a drone, now we can see that now which place is burning more and which place can use that resources in a better way. Connectivity to the firefighters, you might have known that in the Dixie and Campfire of California, the firefighters were in direct contact with the people who are monitoring from the above, because fire, if you are really fight, because as a forester we have fought the fire several times. The problem is you will be dehydrated within minutes if you go near the fire. If you are not repeatedly given water or any other liquid, uh, anyhow by dehydration itself the life will be lost. So in that campfire, the firefighters really, when they were in trouble, the drones played a very important role. And ultimately it saves a lot of human property in life, because the choppers as well as the aircrafts used in the fire putting of the fire operations, because most of the time when they fly due to smoke, they don't properly fly through the proper area, and so many accidents have happened in the earlier past. Now what they do is they fly the drone first. After that, they see whether the smoke and the area is good or not. And after that, they fly through the area with the water or any other fire retardants, and they try to put out the fire. In that way, it saves a lot of human property in life. So this is in general I given. See, we can just before a fire, we do the surveillance. We can check the fuel load. Fuel is nothing what the ground has. If your fuel load is high, it's more potential for fire. If the fuel load is less, then it will be having less potential to catch fire. And drones nowadays, some drones are coming that we see in the coming slide. They can induce control burning. So control burning is nothing. Before the fuel collect them in a particular place, we light them. We reduce the fuel load so that the forest doesn't catches the fire. And we again monitor the controlling burning also through drones. We can monitor it also. And when the fire happens, we have a mechanism of alerts. Whenever the fire happens, using NASA's that firms fire information resource management system, using the MODIS as well as the SNPPVRS data, we give the alerts to the entire forest areas so that the fire can be put out. But there exists some problem that we come see in the coming slide, and we can observe the movement of fire, very important, and which direction it moves. Accordingly, we can act against to that, and we can put down the fire. Real time information, every moment we will come to know the ground what is happening. In test flight, as I already mentioned, before the flight or the chopper is flown to put off the fire, it can be used as a test flight, and finally all lead to the better resource management. And once the fire has happened also, there are two things, the very important thing we do. So we assess the damage, what damage the fire has caused. There drones will play a very important role, and we can further in for future how we can work it out also we can plan. Very briefly, we'll just see. So drones on surveillance, just we fly the drone above area. If we find a fire, whether by thermal image or by some smoke, some we detect, we immediately intimate the local forest official, and we can ask them to take immediate action and check the fuel load. This is very important. So normally this is if the fuel load is not properly removed, for that reason only we just observe that how the fuel load is there, and we go for giving the precise information before that. So inducing, there are two kinds of drones, dragon drones and flamethrowers. This is such a drone. If you know that fuel load is there, not basically practiced in India. At few places we have seen the demos, so it can induce the fire like this. This is important that the Uttarakhand Forest Department is doing, because most of the time what happens, a controlled burning operation can also cause a real fire if it is not properly controlled. So to keep that vigil, keep that whether the control burning operation is done correctly, drones are as made to hover above that, and the entire operation is being monitored. And again, one more thing is, as I already mentioned, sometimes it can also cause some damage to the life. In such a case, somebody needs some rescue operation, that can be also immediately seen through the drone, and the firefighter can be given the necessary and needy help. So precise fire alert, as I already told you, we follow this two satellite data. One is the SNPP-VRS and MODIS. So totally we give the FSI, Forest Survey of India, using this satellite information. They gave six alerts a day. So this is the website the NASA has, which we call as the firms. It's available for throughout the world, and in that only we apply our boundary, and we call out only through the forest area, and we do it. So, but there exist some issues with that also. One is the limited passes, only 6 passes. Rest of the time, what we'll do if fire happens? Cover. Sometimes cloud cover may not correctly may not, the satellites cannot sense it properly. Sometimes low temperature, smaller fire the initial stages, but later on it would have become a bigger one, and fires covered by smoke and other heat sources. So these are the problems we have when the sense happen, when the sensors may wrong or may not sense the fire. So these are repeated alerts. This is more precise to India, so I just skip it. So, so this happens. Sometimes we miss the fire alerts. We miss some fires. and more accurate data is not obtained. In such a cases, drones can play important. If you know this, that place is a particular place, much fire prone area, and if you have just a thermal sensor, you can fly the drone over that particular area. In addition to the satellite image, whatever you get, and further it can be ground truthed also. Much better data can be obtained, much accurate results can be obtained. This is again one thing what the European forest fire information system they have done it. So just I'll tell the methodology only. They use two UAVs. This I read in an article. I thought it will be interesting to share it with you. They use two UAVs, two drones. One is a fixed wing and one is a non-fixed wing, or we call it as a chopper. The chopper flies at the lower altitude and the fixed wing flies at the higher altitude. Both are DJI drones. They use it. So the fixed wing, it used to do a very fast survey over the area. When it finds something wrong has happened, then the communication comes, and then that the smaller one is in that area, and very accurately it senses whether it's really a fire or not, and what is its magnitude, the classification using some artificial intelligence. They do it, and it is. Immediately communication is given to the ground station. They go and put up the fire, and it's one of the very efficient system. They have followed it in Europe. So progress of the fire, when we come to know how the progress is happening, then we can plan the operation very nicely. So we can alert the crew which direction it is flying, it is moving on, and we can plan the choppers and aircraft according to it. The drones play a very important role because they can hover for means certain drones are there they can hover for minutes or hours. So that will be a great use to the firefighting crew. So again, this is also again from the Dixie Fire only. What I have taken, I presented in the last IFS compulsory training. So ready to made ground information is being made, and it is being continuously shared to the ground teams because they will be fighting the fire. So they are in continuous means gathering, continuous receipt of the information. So real time information, especially this is very important. If otherwise, the person who is fighting will be in trouble. So this statement was in the NASA's website. You can go through it because they are praised the drones because very clearly they have mentioned it. On the front lines of the Dixie Fire, drone was sent to look for any traces of fire down a steep gully, and they have told that the thermal data what it collected helped to decide whether the crews should safely attempt to hold the fire there or if they should work from the next ridge line. Mean losing more acres to the flames. So this has been in the still in the NASA's website. You can go through it. Assessing the damage. So this is again a very important role. As a forester, we it's very important because based on this only, the further plan of action will be made. So the damage assessment is very important for the insurance claim also. If somebody has lost some homes or some agricultural lands, for claiming the insurance also they need it, especially what happens is normally what we do is there are no because for a proper damage assessment we need one image prior to the fire and one image after the fire. So generally we use this AV data, but naturally what happens especially in forest in like tropical rainforests or vegetarian forests, in 4 5 days the greenery will come again. So the proper detection of the loss what has happened is difficult to do digitally. So in that cases drones will be playing a very important role. If we have an image before the fire, immediately after the fire we can fly the drone and we can compare both the images and a very good report can be made, and similar things have been attempted in India. So this is how they have done it. A small example. This is again with respect to the Dixie Fire only. Again, this is in California. So this is a drone image, and from that, they could come to a conclusion whose home really the home has been damaged by fire or not, and after that they get the insurance claims. So everywhere, especially in fire, we use it for surveillance, monitoring, planning, mitigation. We call it as mitigation. So it plays a very important role nowadays. Many countries, I think, they are attempting, especially with respect to the forest fires. Generally, it's all depends on the sensor because I have covered very briefly overall. So I thought just to share it with you. Though we have many sensors, we have that. So for a particular thing, we need a particular sensor. So what we prefer in forestry is we need a better flight time. 30 minutes, 40 minutes of drones are not sufficient. Practically, after using for nearly 4 5 years, we need a little bit higher endurance drones we need, and should resist wind. Sometimes we lose the drones. They go. Sometimes they go and they get struck, and they should be able to be flown in extreme temperature conditions, because we have forests from the Thar desert to the cold deserts also. So that extreme things we have. Anticulation, now the reason drones are coming with the anticulation, but because though it's we fly above the trees, and sometimes some may fail. And the most important thing is the auto height detection. So it should automatically fly with respect to the height, with respect to the base. So nowadays, this is also being given in most of the drones. A return to home facility. This is also, once it gets some damage, it should able to come back to the place. And signal out of sight. So many places, drones which are categorized as the nano or micro, they don't have this ability. But better drones, they are coming with this. And finally, we need a sturdy drone. So whether it's a fixed wing or a chopper, the more steadiness is needed when we try to use it into the forest areas. That's all from my. This is my entire career, because Hannes was telling initially a brief about me, how I started working and wherever I worked. So I worked in the Tripura Forest Department, my home place. From 11 to 17, I worked there, and after that, 4 years experience in Forest Survey of India. I've done that forest type mapping and two forest cover mappings, and a little bit experience in the drone which I had there. After that, I worked as Deputy Conservator of Forest in Research Survey and Forest Economics in FRI, Forest Research Institute. And again, 6 months as ADG Monitoring and Evaluation in Indian Council of Forest Research and Education. And after that, I've been now promoted and placed as Secretary, Indian Council of Forest Research and Education. So that's all, and thanks to the organizers, both the organizations, ICFRE and FSI, and Dr. Subhash Astos, he's the person behind me to learn this. And thanks to Anand, he shared some of the good picture. Anand and Shashank, they both shared, though they are also drone enthusiasts, maybe they'll be also present in the lecture. And Dr. Victor Saikom, he's my first trainer of drone. He's from Northeastern Space Application Center, Shillong. So the first time I handled the drone, means the first initial basics were taught by Dr. Victor Saikom. So this is my first training. So 3 batches of field foresters I have trained in when I was working in Forest Survey of India. So this is again the first batch when I trained it. In, I think, in 2008. I'll be happy to answer.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Arun. Very, very, very complete. Even though the time is very tight, I'm so appreciative that you managed to fit so much information. So right now we will open the floor for questions. You
Yes.
can type your questions in the Q&A session. If you cannot find the session, oh, we already have one question. Okay, wow, Ms. Tambidurai, very quick. So, what are the challenges using drones in forest management? What improvements can be brought in? I think the improvements part, Mr. Arun said about the battery power,
Yeah,
the
yeah. Yeah.
right, and a few things he mentioned earlier. Is it possible to access individual units, single tree animal using drones? Is it clear enough for you, Mr. Arun, to answer?
Yes, I can answer it. See,
All
it
right.
depends on the forest. If you have a very dense forest, so obviously your drone should have a better sensor, better like multispectral sensors or the hyperspectral we have. Hyperspectral we less use. Multispectral we have means then we can access to each and every tree also, provided the density is less. Animals, as I have shown some of the pictures, see, it's the drones cannot penetrate into a dense canopy and find out what animal is inside. Generally, we find it out when they come out. So major challenges what we face is that one only, the time, because now in a forest area repeatedly we cannot charge the batteries. We need now the longer time, so that now the changing of batteries, because for changing of battery we have to again bring the drone down back to the ground. So that is the major challenge, though. The hardship is more with the hardware part. I think with the body and the drone makeup. Otherwise, usage is easy because till now there is no problem of using in any hard climates. We are used in most of the climates. But only one thing is rain whenever it rains. It's generally advised we bring back the drone back to the ground. If we can bring some water resistant drones in the open area, then it will be better. What I feel. Any other questions? I think Tambidurai, I think have I made clear? I don't know. You have to only tell me. If it's still your doubt exists, you can contact me.
Mr. Arun, you can stop sharing your screen because we can see the double screen.
Double screen. Okay, sure.
Press the cross if you can find it.
Yes. Now it's
But
nothing.
don't exit the yeah. Don't exit the meeting. Okay,
No,
do
no.
we have okay, so Mr. Tamidurai, he thanks you for the answers. You have any more questions? I think we can have maybe two more questions before we close because it's almost 6 o'clock over here. Any more questions? I think you must have answered all their questions perfectly.
One more.
Priyanka says thank you. What are the major differences of using drones in plains and hilly areas, sir?
There is no difference, no much difference, because nowadays the drones come with that auto head detection system. There is nothing much more there in that. So I don't feel that differences are there. Only thing is you should be a little careful, because in the hills, if you want to send the drone to the other part of the hill, it will be out of your sight. In the plains, mostly it will be in your sight. So generally, as per the civil aviation regulation in with respect to the India, so we cannot fly the drone out of our visual line of sight. So that was the only difference. Otherwise, it's okay. We can. There is no much difference between both. So Tambidara
One
is
last
having
question.
questions.
One last question. Come on. You have Mr. Arun here, right here with us. Must take this opportunity to ask him. One more from the floor. Okay, I guess there's none, Mr. Arun. But how do they reach you if they do have more questions?
So I'll type my email here, so they can
Yes.
reach me over here. My
Mm,
email ID is this, so you can personally send me. Yeah, I have typed it in the chat box. I think
okay.
Tambidare wants to ask more questions, so he can ask over through my email.
Sure. So it's jubatus06@gmail.com.
Yeah, this is my personal email, so they can type it over, because other emails are my official email IDs, which should be flooded
Okay.
otherwise. Yeah, that's
All
why.
right. Great. So if there's nothing else, we will be sharing this recording on our YouTube channel. You will receive the link to the video in your email that you have registered to register for this webinar. So if you don't get it, you can reach out to us at our email address, GDC. I'll type it here as well. Hold on, yeah. GDC 19. Okay, so if you don't receive the recording link in your emails that you've registered for this webinar, you can email us here. Also, do follow us on our blog. You can check us out if you have not at this website address. I'm going to type it here as well. All right. Thank you again for making time with us, Mr. Arun. Thank you, everybody who has come and joined us today for this very, very short and sweet session. And do keep in touch with us. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.